Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to go over the basics on how to play chess in King's Choice. There are endless strategies to go over in this event, so I will be making several videos on this one. So, if you have any questions, please leave them below any of the Chess War videos I make, and I will try to address them in a future video. With that, let's dive right in. Most chess wars are decided long before the end of day 3 at the main castle. That's why the first days are so critical. The map progressively opens up each day, and the teams are slowly eliminated from 12 to 8 to 4. All of your knights get one move per mobility refresh, which you can see the countdown in the top right hand corner for when you receive more each day. At the start, use your small knights to collect nearby towns and set up your territory. Work with your alliance to establish borders, as well as other alliances in your server. Chess is a cross-server event, and you will only win if you work with the other alliances in your server to get as many alliances to day 2 and 3 as possible, because that's what the other server will be doing. If you run out of knights, you can use your flags to recover mobility, but do so sparingly and at critical stages of the game. Don't waste those flags. Along the same lines, don't waste your mobility. Strategically use smaller knights to scout tiles and attack the low priority tiles, i.e. ones that don't have towns or at a choke point, and use your most powerful knights in the heavily battled areas and towns. Don't put a strong knight on a basic tile that the enemy teams don't need and can avoid that knight. That strong knight will go to waste when it's not attacked, and you will have to move it without helping the fight. I cannot emphasize this tip enough. Use choke points, especially on day 1. Those mountain ranges should be used as the edges of your territory, so you A, don't overextend, and B, have a much easier time holding your territory. If you are struggling to hold against a larger opponent, you can stack your large knights along the choke point so they struggle to break through. If you are an averagely sized alliance for your server or the weaker team, don't extend beyond your quadrant of the map. If you are in a larger alliance, you can take about half the map, which is what my team often does, but going beyond that is typically an overextension. Chess will be much easier if your alliance and server is organized and communicating. Make sure your leader color codes the teams so everyone is not a mass of red tiles you struggle to differentiate between. Also, have your deputies and leaders mark knights with flags for tiles. We use the Do Not Attack flag for knights over 100 million, and the yellow flag for knights over 20 million and under 100 million. We use the red flag to mark the perimeter of our territory often too. Pro tip, do not make this mistake I'm about to show you on screen. My alliance has expanded and collected towns, but in the chaos of fighting, some of those towns do not have a knight garrisoned at it. You will lose points if you don't have a knight on each town and castle you own. So it's critical to use small knights to occupy towns even though they are away from the fighting. With any attack, make sure your knights are at least 2 tiles deep as you go deeper and deeper into enemy territory. If you have a weak spot of only 1 tile, the enemy will attack it and cut your knights off. Then, you won't be able to use those knights unless you recall them, which is a waste of mobility, or until you reconnect. Those knights that are cut off also progressively weaken the longer they are not connected to your base. Notice here I am trying to make it harder for the enemy to cut off our knights. I am reconnecting tiles and thickening our lines so it is harder to penetrate. You will also notice that I typically only garrison a tile with 1 knight. There is always so much fighting, and I try to use my knights as sparingly as possible and without them going to waste. If I garrison a basic tile with 3 knights, 2 of those knights can't be used elsewhere. I allow the rest of my alliance to come in behind me and garrison as needed. Typically, we don't put additional knights on a tile unless it's a choke point or a critical location like a town or ruin. Don't forget to share information with your alliance. You can share coordinates and let them know how much is remaining on a tile you just attacked. You can see me using several of the strategies we have went over in this play. I am having to reconnect knights, and you can see me make the connection 2 tiles thick, so it's harder to sever again. I try to use my small knights to scout, and I end up stopping here so that I don't overextend west into enemy territory. I just focused on holding the choke point, which is something you guys will often do on day 1. I also stopped fighting here to conserve my knights for a later attack. Sometimes it's better to let the enemy finish their attacks, and then you counterattack with your team later when they are offline and you guys can work together. In this clip, you will notice the purple team, which is an alliance on our server that we were working with, attempt to attack downwards to cut off the enemy team. This is a very common play, and you can almost immediately see the initial concern, overextension. As the team moves south, we can see several spots where the enemy team can reconnect their yellow tiles higher up the map and cut off a large portion of the purple attack. If this had happened, it would have been a major problem for the purple team, who may have struggled to reconnect. Thankfully, there was no major counterattack, and you can see the team move in and cut off the yellow base from their territory. Now that team is not earning any points, it'll have to break through the purple tiles to reconnect before they can do anything else. This is a very, very effective strategy, but it is also very risky. If you get cut off while you're making that attempt, you can struggle to reconnect to those knights and end up wasting mobility. Another common mistake. Notice that purple empty tile at the south point of the purple team's attack? Someone on that team moved their knight before it was attacked and left that tile defenseless. Don't do that. If you see a knight you're about to use garrisoned elsewhere, check before you make that move that you aren't wasting mobility. If that knight is on the front lines, you shouldn't move it. Another strategy you can use is cutting up a team's territory into sections so it is harder to reconnect. As you see me doing here in this clip, we had already cut off the enemy team, so I decided to separate their territory into 2 sections by going down the center with my knights. From there, I informed my team so they could thicken that line, and I could save some knights for later in the game. When the ruins open up on day 2, make sure one of your alliances on your server has one or preferably both. They provide a percentage boost to your knights that is critical to have if you want to win. Share them with your server's alliances. If one alliance is doing all of the fighting because of the layout of the map, they should be the alliance with their ruin. Finally, on day 3, the winner occupies the castle. We have never seen someone win without occupying the castle for a large point of the day. Hopefully, you have already won the war at this point and can rotate a winner like we do on our server and you can see us doing here. I hope this helps everyone. Thanks so much for watching and see you on the next one.